like to introduce my installing officers. Start here with, oh, sorry.
No. Carter's doing the calling, Marshal. Oh, Brother Berndt? Okay, that works, Berndt.
Okay.
Why don't you just introduce your installing officer and he'll take it from there. Introduce Steve. Yeah, he'll take it from there.
Okay, that's a good thing.
He's done this time.
Yeah. I'd like to introduce, Brother Steve Orlando as our installing officers.
Thank you, Brother Rodney.
This is all yours, sir.
Our worship pastor is a man of few words, isn't he?
Get out of your hair, Howard.
No.
Hey, wait a minute, Mike.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out to this year's installation of officers for Hempstead Masonic Lodge. Each year, I put together some thoughts to make a presentation. It's always different. I always try to come up with something new every year because we've heard the same spill for installation for decades. And each year I try to come up with something different, something new. This year, and I'll keep it brief, I want to talk about the officers themselves to be installed, what it means to be a Mason. For those who had another installation I was at this year, I apologize for repeating myself. But I try to stick with the same theme each year. When you hear words like instruct or propagate knowledge, inculcate, these words and many more mean the same thing. It means teaching. What do we do to teach? The Masonic Lodge is the foundation of all Masonic organizations throughout the world. It's the foundation. And what you'll notice in our installation program, that certain officers are charged with teaching these guys who enter our doors, and also teaching the membership and reminding them what it means to be a Mason, and what is expected of them. Because it's not only important to be a Mason while at the lodge, it's probably more important to be how you conduct yourself outside these doors when you're in the public. Anything that's taught at the Masonic Lodge falls in line with your faith. We have to be members of the faith. We're not trying to tell you what your doctrine has to be. Everybody's from different walks of life, but you have to believe in God, the immortality of the soul, and the brotherhood of man. It's key. You have to believe in those things just to be a Mason. And that falls in line with the faith. And we believe with the Holy Bible on our altar. Anything that is read from that Bible is always open in our meetings, and we believe that anything we do as Masons in this building and abroad is favorable in His sight, in God's eyes. So anything that the guys learn, the Masons learn in the Masonic Lodge, is carried forward into the community. It helps them become better citizens, better husbands, better sons, better brothers, better citizens. That is our goal. That's what Masonic Lodges do. It is our job. In a Masonic Lodge, our main purpose is to do what? We make Masons, don't we? That's what we do. And when a lodge ceases to do that, they are no longer a lodge. It is the primary function. And that's why you hear the installation ceremony so many remarks about teaching the guys, teaching the brethren, teaching the membership, and the guys coming in the door. And you'll hear some of that today. For those to be installed in Hempstead Lodge today, please retire from the lodge. No installation team is done with one guy. It takes two to install officers. Service in Masonic Lodge is not for everybody, but there are a rare few that do serve and hold office, serve in the East, and continue to serve in other places. They're also called upon from time to time to serve on the state level. Their title is District Deputy Grand Master. The title is District Deputy Grand Master because he represents the Grand Master in that district. He is, in his official capacity, the Grand Master. It's a title that very few Masons can achieve or accept because there's so much responsibility. And we have with us the great honor of having Right Worshipful David Berndt. Is it Charles?
Carl.
Carl.
Close.
David Carl Berndt, District Deputy Grand Master of all the Masons in District 108. Please give a warm welcome to your installing Marshal. For the installing Marshal, will you introduce the brethren to be installed?
Worshipful Master, Rodney Crosby. Treasurer, Mark Harrison. Chaplain, C.E. Bud Dumasno. Junior Deacon, Wayne Cluna.
For the installing Marshal, you will present the officers to be installed.
Worshipful Master, I present the officers of Hempstead Masonic Lodge number 749 for installation. I believe each of them to be well qualified to discharge the duties of his office, and each has signified his willingness to accept the same. I therefore ask that they be duly and constitutionally installed.
Brother installing Marshal, you will present the Worshipful Master for installation. The remaining officers may be seated. Worshipful sir and brother, I take pleasure in installing you into this honorable office with the usual ceremonies. But previous to being invested with the insignia of your office, it is necessary that you should signify your assent to those ancient charges and regulations which point out the duty of a master of a lodge. You will give your assent at the conclusion of these regulations. You agree to be a good man and true, and strictly to obey the moral law. You agree to be a peaceable citizen, and cheerfully to conform to the laws of the country in which you reside. Can you hear me okay, Bing? Can you hear me?
Can you hear?
Can you hear him?
Pretty much, yeah.
I'll try to do better. You promise not to be concerned in plots and conspiracies against government, but patiently to submit to the decisions of the Supreme Legislature. You agree to pay proper respect to the civil magistrate, to work diligently, live creditably, and act honorably by all men. You agree to hold in veneration the original rulers and patrons of the Order of Masonry, and to their regular successors, supreme and subordinate, according to their stations, and to submit to the awards and resolutions of your brethren, when convened, in every case consistent with the constitutions of the order. You agree to avoid private piques and quarrels, and to guard against intemperance and excess. You promise to pay respect to genuine brethren, and to discountenance impostors. You promise to cultivate the social virtues, to propagate the knowledge of the art. You promise to pay homage to the Grand Master for the time being, and to his officers when duly installed. and strictly to conform to every edict of the Grand Lodge or General Assembly of Masons that is not subversive of the principles and groundwork of Masonry. You admit that it is not in the power of any man or body of men to make innovations in the body of Masonry. You promise a regular attendance on the committees and communications of Grand Lodge on receiving proper notice, and to pay attention to all the duties of Masonry on convenient occasions. You admit that no new lodge shall be formed without permission of the Grand Lodge, and that no countenance be given to any irregular lodge, or to any person clandestinely initiated therein, being contrary to the ancient charges of the order. You admit that no person can be regularly made a Mason in, or admitted a member of, any regular lodge without previous notice and due inquiry into its character. You agree that no visitors shall be received into your lodge without due examination and producing proper vouchers of their having been initiated in a regular lodge. These are the regulations of free and accepted Masons. Do you submit to the charges and promise to support these regulations as masters have done in all ages before you? If so, signify by saying, I do.
I do.
Brother Rodney, in consequence of your cheerful conformity to the charges and regulations of the order, you are now to be installed master of your lodge, in full confidence of your care, skill, and capacity to govern the same. Brother Stalling Marshal, you will invest the worshipful master with the insignia of his office, which is the square. The various implements of our profession are emblematical of our conduct in life, and upon this occasion are carefully enumerated. The holy writings. That great light in masonry will guide you to all truth, direct your path to the temple of happiness, and point out to you the whole duty of man. The square teaches us to regulate our actions by rule and line, and to harmonize our conduct by the principles of morality and virtue. The compasses teach us to limit our desires at every station, that rising to eminence by merit, we may live respected and die regretted. The rule directs that we shall punctually observe our duty, press forward in the path of virtue, and neither inclining to the right nor to the left in all our actions, have eternity in view. The line teaches us the criterion of moral rectitude, to avoid dissimulation in conversation and action, to direct our steps to the path which leads to immortality. The Book of Constitutions you are to search at all times. Cause it to be read in your lives, that none may pretend to ignorance of the excellent precepts it enjoins. We now receive in charge the charter, by the authority of which this lodge is held. You are carefully to preserve and duly transmit it to your successor in office. Lastly, you receive in charge the bylaws of this lodge, which you are to see carefully and punctually executed. For the Stalling Marshal, you will return the worshipful master to his seat and present the treasurer for the charge. Brother Stalling Marshal, you will invest the treasurer with the insignia of his office, which is crossed keys. Brother Treasurer, it is your duty to receive all the monies from the secretary, make due entries thereof, and pay them out by order of the worshipful master and consent of the lodge. I trust your regard for the welfare of the order will prompt you to a faithful discharge of your duties. Brother Stalling Marshal, you will seat the treasurer in his place and present the chaplain for installation. As the officers are now being seated, please give them a round of applause. Brother Stalling Marshal, you will invest the chaplain with the insignia of his office, which is the open Holy Bible. Reverend Sir and Brother, it is your duty to perform those solemn services which we should constantly render to our Creator, and which, when offered by one whose example is to point to heaven and lead the way, may, by refining our souls, strengthening our virtues, and purifying our minds, prepare us for admission into the society of those above, where happiness will be as endless as it is perfect. Brother Stalling Marshal, you will seat the chaplain in his place and present the junior deacon for installation. Brother Stalling Marshal, you will invest the junior deacon with the insignia of his office, which is the square and compasses. Brother junior deacon, it is your province to attend on the master and wardens, to act as their proxies in the active duties of the lodge, such as the reception of candidates into the different degrees in masonry, the introduction and accommodation of visitors, and the immediate practice of our rites. The square and compasses, as badges of your office, I entrust to your care, not doubting your vigilance and attention. Brother Stalling Marshal, you will seat the junior deacon in his place and present the worshipful master for the charge.
You can't get out of it now.
It's too late, Rodney.
You've already got the jewel on.
Worshipful sir and brother, to you is committed the charter of this lodge, and the government of the brethren who compose the same, and are within the jurisdiction of said lodge. You cannot be insensible of the obligations which devolve on you as their head, nor of your responsibility for the faithful discharge of the duties annexed to said station. The honor, reputation, and usefulness of your lodge will materially depend upon the skill with which you manage its concerns, while the happiness of its members will be generally promoted in proportion to the zeal and ability with which you propagate the genuine principles of our institution. For a pattern of imitation, consider the great luminary of nature, the sun, which rising in the east regularly diffuses light and luster to all within a circle. In like manner, it is your province to spread and communicate light and instruction to the brethren of your lodge, forcibly impress upon them the dignity and high importance of masonry, and seriously admonish them never to disgrace it. Charge them to practice out of the lodge those duties which they have been taught in it, and by amiable, discreet, and virtuous conduct, to convince mankind of the goodness of the institution. So when a person is said to be a member of it, the world may know that he is one to whom the burdened heart may pour out its sorrows, to whom distress may prefer its suit, whose hand is guided by justice, and whose heart is expanded by benevolence. In short, by diligent observance of the bylaws of this lodge, the constitutions of masonry, and above all, the Holy Scriptures, which are given as a rule and guide to your faith. You will be able to acquit yourself with honor and reputation. Lay upon a crown of rejoicing, which shall continue in time shall be no more. Brother Stalling Marshal, you will seat the worshipful master in the east. Will the members of Hempstead Lodge please rise? Brethren, such is the nature of our Constitution that some must of necessity rule and teach, while others, of course, must learn to submit and obey. Humility in both is an essential duty. The officers elected and appointed to govern this lodge are sufficiently conversant with the rules of propriety, the laws of Masonic order, to avoid exceeding the powers with which they are entrusted. You are of too generous dispositions to envy their preferment. I therefore ask that you will have but one aim, and that will be to try to please each other and unite in the grand design of being happy and communicating happiness. Finally, my brethren, as the business of this lodge has been conducted in peace and harmony, so may it long continue. May you and your associates long enjoy the satisfaction and delight which disinterested friendship can afford. May kindness and brotherly affection distinguish your conduct as men and as Masons. Within your peaceful walls, may your children's children celebrate with joy and gratitude the annual recurrence of this auspicious solemnity. May the principal tenets of our profession, namely brotherly love, relief, and truth, be transmitted through your lives, pure and unimpaired, from generation to generation. Brother Stalling Marshal, you will proclaim the installation. The audience will please rise.
In the name and under the authority of the most worshipful Grand Lodge of Texas, I proclaim the officers of Hempstead Masonic Lodge No. 749, ancient, free, and accepted Masons, duly and constitutionally installed.
Please be seated. Rodney, I'd like to switch places with you, if I may.
No.
And if you'll hand me your hat. Unless Miss Tina wanted to present that.
Did you want to present his hat? Done this before, right?
You didn't do it last time. I didn't do it.
Oh, that's right.
You want to say something to him or present it?
Congratulations. Thank you very much. You've done this before. I've been there before, and I'll be there this time.
Yep, absolutely. Now put it up, put that thing back on. Brother Rodney, it is indeed a pleasure to serve as the installing officer for your installation. It is now time to hand you the gavel of authority, which is an incredible power that the master has. It is said that no other organization in the world gives to its presiding officer the almost absolute power that is vested with the master of a Masonic lodge. That's what they say. I've seen it in action, some of you. It's almost totally powerful. With this gavel, the master presides over the lodge. He establishes order. He makes sure things are done properly. He follows his conscience to make sure the meetings are done appropriately and Masonically. I think the lodge is in good hands. Rodney, Crosby at the helm. On behalf of your installing Marshal, Vice Marshal David Berndt, and myself, I'd like to extend to you this gavel for Hempstead Lodge and offer you congratulations. Once again, I know you'll have a successful year.
Oh, it's gonna be a heck of a year. I wanna thank everybody for coming out. This is really a true honor for me. I know can you hear me, Pop?
Can you hear him?
Can you hear it?
No.
Okay, hang on a second.
Come on up.
I gotta take mine off so I can talk louder, otherwise it comes back in my ear.
Not here. Now I can hear him? I can't do
3 years ago was a big honor to go to the East and follow my daddy's footsteps. It's even a bigger honor to do this all over again. I just wish my mom was here to see it like it was the first time. I've got a good group of officers that are helping guide me through this year of masonry, and I look forward to helping this lodge grow forward instead of idling. We've got, I think, a lot of work on our hands, and it's gonna take each and every one of us to get this through. I'd also like to thank Brother Wayne Cluda for prepping the yard, and it looks very nice. All of my installing officers that were here, I appreciate it very much. And everyone here that has come along and has helped get this through for today. Anybody else has anything that they'd like to say, you can do it this time. If not, this will conclude our installation for the Masonic Lodge Hempstead 749. Thank you all very much.